All right, so check this out. There are 3 things that are keeping you in this infamous I can understand English but can't speak it zone. This is, let's say, between levels 2 and 3 if your English learning progression had 5 different levels of fluency or proficiency. Now, at this level, you can put sentences together with relative efficiency and you can make yourself understood. So for that, congratulations. You are 1 in every 10,000 people who start learning English from 0. Now, the reality for most of you is that if you've gone this far, you want a little bit more. If you are between level 2 and 3, you might be saying things like, oh, I wish I spoke English as fluently as him or her. I wish I could express myself in English as well as I can in my native language. Or why do I always get nervous when I'm speaking with a native English speaker? And while you can do a lot with level 3 of fluency, reaching that 4th and 5th level will unlock a lot of benefits, opportunities, and rewards for you. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 3 things that are keeping you at this semi-fluent level. And real quick, before we get into the meaty part of the video, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and do that now. In this channel, I help you develop the tools and mindset that you need to speak English fluently and confidently. I would just love to be able to help you on your journey towards fluency and growth. So subscribe to the channel, and that is how we can make sure that happens. So let's now get into the 3 things that are keeping you semi-fluent. So the first thing that is keeping you semi-fluent is a lack of self-belief. And I cannot emphasize this enough. A lot of intermediate English speakers will say things like, oh, I wish I spoke English as fluently as him or her. Now, instead of doing that, I'd encourage you to adopt a different self-identity. One in which you would spend no time wishing you were as fluent as someone else, and instead you would project that you will be as fluent or even more fluent than someone who is currently a few levels more advanced than you. You need to operate from a self-identity that says, I'm the type of person who is on his or her way to becoming as fluent and as confident in English as I can possibly be. In other words, don't say I wish I was, say I'm not there yet, but I will be. And this is very powerful because when you believe this wholeheartedly, what happens is you take action, you put in the effort that it takes to grow, and you get results. You will notice that your fluency is improving. And if that's not good enough, the magic part is after you start to get results because you reinforce your initial self-belief. You will surprise yourself. You will say things like, wow, I'm proud of myself. However, if you're lacking in that initial self-belief, this kicks off a negative loop. You take no action or very little action, then you get no results, and this in turn reinforces that negative self-belief or that lack of self-belief you had in the beginning. Let me illustrate this from the perspective of a person you may know. You may know a person who says, I'm not good at languages or I'm not good at English. Let's call him Mario. So this is not something that Mario says just because. Mario self-identifies with this statement. And the sad part is, he's right. Remember the quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So Mario will loop around this cycle for a little while until this negative reinforcement kills the last bit of motivation he has left. Unfortunately, Mario is one of those 9,999 people who start learning English but end up quitting. Now, this example, of course, isn't you. Your English is already pretty good, and proof to that is that you're still watching this video. However, in a way, you are like Mario too. If you have a similar self-limiting belief that instead of being, I'm not good at English, you're saying, I'm not that good at English. I can speak English, just not that well. So here's a starting point for dealing with this lack of self-belief. Stop being a listener and start being an observer. Get out of your head. So here's how you'll stop listening to these negative thoughts or this inner dialogue that says, I'm just not that good in English. I mean, I can speak some English, but I cannot possibly ever get to that level, to those higher levels of fluency. So what you're doing there is you're listening, and it's kind of like you are your thought. But what I want you to do is start separating yourself a little bit from those thoughts. Put some distance between yourself, your consciousness, and those thoughts. See those thoughts as separate entities and see it from the perspective of, oh, I see, I'm having this thought that I'm just not that good at English and that I cannot possibly get to those higher levels of fluency. However, that's just a thought, not a fact. The fact is that if I put in the effort that it takes to grow and to develop and to become a better English speaker, if I can put in that effort, I will become the person who speaks English fluently and confidently. So again, stop being your thoughts. Instead, observe your thoughts and get some distance so that you can describe your thoughts as a separate entity. This, by the way, will get you a long way with your overall confidence in English, as I explained in this video right here. Okay, now moving on, what is the second thing that is keeping you semi-fluent? That is the mechanics of English. Speaking English is a lot like driving a car. When you drive a car, you need to perform a lot of different actions. So the mechanics of driving a car include hands on the wheel, steering the wheel, your right hand on the stick, shifting gears, your 2 feet are involved. Then where are you looking at? You're looking ahead, you're looking behind through the rear view mirror, and you're looking behind through the side view mirrors. If you drive a car, you know how overwhelming it can be when you're learning how to drive a car. Now, what happens next is that 2 things. One, you start to gain familiarity with the different steps involved in the broader action of driving. Familiarity is one thing. The other thing, you start to gain automaticity. You don't even have to think about what you're doing, as opposed to when you're learning. When you're learning, you're overly conscious about all the different actions involved in driving. When you already know how to drive, you don't even think like, oh, I have to coordinate my feet in a certain way. But anyway, where am I going with this? Driving a car is a complex task. We can agree on that. Speaking English is a more complex task. The mechanics of English include 3 fundamental areas: vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And your ability to speak English fluently is directly correlated with 1, your familiarity with these fundamental areas, and 2, your automaticity, your ability to integrate these different elements of English in a way that is smooth and that you can flow with your words, flow with your sentences, and flow with your sounds. When you speak English, you're not really overthinking what you're going to say. You do it in an automatic way. And this is key. The moment you start to overthink what you're saying and how you're saying it is the moment when you don't sound so fluent. And I know sometimes we're just too much in our head. We need to think of what we're going to say, how we're going to say. We need to do this sort of like mental heavy lifting before we actually speak. Some of that is natural. Some of that may never go away. But at the end of the day, you need to level up your ability with the mechanics of English. This is getting more familiar with the fundamental areas of English. And then, of course, this automaticity that I mentioned before, your ability to flow with your words, flow with your sentences, flow with your ideas, and flow with your sounds. And here the $1 million question is, how can you level up your ability with the mechanics of English? When we talk about the learning of vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation, these fundamental areas of English, there are 2 pieces to the puzzle: passive learning and active learning. So passive learning, you can do that just by watching a lot of English, listening to a lot of English, and reading a lot of English. The more time you engage in these activities, the more you are going to learn in a passive way. The other piece to the puzzle is active learning, or what some people call deliberate learning. And this is what you can really customize to your needs and to your learning style. And deliberate learning or active learning is very important because it allows you to close the gaps in your knowledge. What you need is a learning system, and the best learning system is one that you create yourself and that you customize and refine with time. And then you keep adding elements, stacking new things to keep it interesting, engaging, and challenging. Now, there are some features or characteristics that a learning system should have in order for it to be a good, efficient, solid learning system. One of these things is it facilitates consistency. It covers the fundamentals, it helps you review what you have already learned but are in the process of forgetting, and it helps you discover or learn new things, and it includes practice. Now, setting up a learning system that contains all of these things is a science of its own, and this is where it's really useful to have a coach, a teacher, someone who can guide you along or in your learning journey. Another plus of having a coach is that you add a good coach at that, by the way, is that you can add or you will add accountability to the mix, which is a huge part of a successful learning process. The English Level Up Academy is a program that I have created that includes all of these 5 elements, 5 pieces to a great learning system. It facilitates consistency, covers the fundamentals, it helps you review what you have learned but are in the process of forgetting, and it helps you learn new things. And it includes practice, and lastly, very important, accountability. Together, all these pieces put you on a path towards speaking English fluently and confidently. This learning system helps you master the mechanics of English, and it will also help you a lot with the thing number 3 that is keeping you semi-fluent. More on that in a moment. So with the English Level Up Academy, you get 1 fluency guide per week for 5 months. And you also get access to Heroic English, which is a place where we meet to reflect, discuss, and implement some of the biggest ideas on personal development applied to English fluency. This is great for mindset and for English fluency practice and development. So join me and other like-minded learners for free in our next Heroic English meetup. We're doing this every week, so it doesn't matter if you're watching this video a year from its release, you can still sign up. Link is in the description of this video, and sign up and I'll get you all the details. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you. All right, and with that, we move on to thing number 3 that's keeping you semi-fluent, and that is not enough practice. If you're at this level 2 or 3 in your English fluency progression journey towards fluency, whatever, if you're a pre-intermediate, an intermediate, or an advanced intermediate, but you feel stuck at this level, what you need is to speak English more, period. And by that, I don't mean like speaking in front of the mirror or speaking to an app or speaking to some AI intelligence, AI, artificial intelligence, AI. I don't mean doing shadowing exercises. What I'm talking about is real practice speaking English, real conversation practice, speaking to another person, making a connection with another person. Like right now, if we were in the same room, you and I, we would chat. I would ask you a question that would get us to talk about something interesting or engaging. Like, where was the last place you traveled to? What did you do? Oh, that's nice. I went to this other place and I did something similar here, and this is what happened. And that's how we would, start having a conversation. Or as you'll find out if you join us in the Heroic English meetups, one of the conversation prompts that we have here is, this is from the meetup on habits. The question is, what small habit change have you made recently that has had a surprisingly positive impact on your life? Another example from the meetup about confidence, the question that we discussed is, how has courage played a role in your English learning experience? So when you engage in real speaking practice, in real English, real world experience, you don't just learn English, you live your English, which is the whole point. You gain a lot more than just English fluency. And I've seen some people start doing something just for the English practice, and then that developed into incredible life experiences like job opportunities, friendships, travel opportunities. So English fluency is not really the end result. The real reason you want to be more fluent in English is because you want a better life. You want maybe to advance in your career. You want to understand other cultures. You want to experience the world fully. And in order to do that, you need English. Now, if you're not getting this type of real life, real world experience with English, drop everything you're doing and make practicing by speaking your number one priority. No excuses allowed policy here. It's not 1995. All you need is this or a computer, an internet connection, and you're set. And I'm making it real easy for you, and just to reiterate this amazing opportunity that you have to put your English into practice and to engage in a meaningful English practice conversation opportunity. Again, you are invited to join Heroic English. Click is in the description. Sign up. It's free. So we'll meet in the next Heroic English meetup. If it's not exactly this Saturday, there's another Heroic English meetup the next Saturday and the next Saturday and the next Saturday. So now to recap what we covered in this video, there are 3 things that are keeping you semi-fluent. The first one is a lack of self-belief. This is the most important thing, really. It's what sets the foundation for you to even be in a position to make any meaningful progress with the other 2 things. So in order for you to improve on the aspect of self-belief, if you're lacking that, a starting point for that would be to stop being your thoughts, stop listening to your thoughts, and rather observe your thoughts from a certain distance. That creates a shift in your perspective, and you realize that you're not necessarily your thoughts. You have agency. You can take action despite these negative thoughts, which are separate from you. Now, the second thing that is keeping you semi-fluent is the mechanics of English. The mechanics of English include these 3 broad fundamental areas of English: vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And here you need to increase your familiarity with these fundamental areas, and then increase your automaticity, your ability to speak English automatically and to flow with the words, with the sentences, to flow with the ideas, and to flow with the sounds. You get this mostly by getting a lot of practice, and this is the third thing that is keeping you semi-fluent. Now, remember, you have an opportunity to fix that third thing, and it's really the second one too, and actually all of these things can be fixed if you attend the Heroic English meetup. The next one is happening soon. Link is in the description. Check it out, sign up, and I'll see you in the next Heroic English meetup very soon, in 7 days or less. I'll see you there. Take care.